When my dad was really little, he was probably like between 6 and 9, and he did live in the country. And this is actually the reason, still to this day, I do not sleep on my stomach. But he had bunk beds, and it was a hot night, so he had the blankets off, and he was sleeping on his stomach. And he said he felt these hands like grab him by the ribs and try to lift him up. And he said the only way he could describe the feeling of these hands, because he was like paralyzed, he couldn't yell. Like he tried to like yell for his mom, and like nothing would come out. He couldn't move. And he said the only way he could describe these hands was that it was almost like there was skin over bone. Like there was no like meat or muscle or anything like that. It was just skin over bone. And it started to lift him up. And finally, he was able to scream and call for my grandma. And my grandma comes in, and of course she's all like, oh, you know, it was just a dream. It's just your imagination, you know. And that also stuck with my dad from a very early age and made him intrigued and curious about if there was other life forms out there other than us. And kind of like my story, which my story happened after my dad's, kind of similar thing. Something happened to him when he was little, and when he was older, he was probably around the same age as I was. I remember we were all sitting in the living room, him and his wife at the time, and me, and I was sitting on the floor, and we were watching Sightings, which was one of our favorite shows. And this guy was talking about aliens, and he had drawn these alien hands, and they were like very kind of almost very skinny skeleton like. And I just happened to look over at my dad, and he's like white as a sheet, like so white. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Dad, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? And he just looks at me, and he's like, Nikki, that is exactly the hands that I felt tried to lift me up. He said, if I could have seen those hands, that's what they would have looked like. And then there was his confirmation to know, you know, that he wasn't going crazy. It wasn't his imagination. He did see or feel something.